Okay, testing, testing. Can you hear me? Can somebody do a thumbs up to let me know if you guys can hear me or not? Testing, testing, testing. Thumbs up, somebody. Just hit the thumbs up. Thank you, Stacks. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. All right. So the judge will be up shortly. You know what? I have I don't you know what, Twitter space we usually do it at we was doing it like at 5 or 6 p.m. Eastern. I think I'm gonna have to go back to doing that. I don't like doing Twitter space this late. Cause I do YouTube Mondays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. I'd rather start Twitter space at 6. So if it goes on over 2 hours, and say if it goes on to 3 hours, it will be ending right about now at 9 o'clock. As opposed to me starting now, and if it goes over 2 hours, that's past 11 going into midnight. So when a judge, I'm gonna mention this to him, off of this, that we're gonna have to go back to 6 p.m. Eastern. It's gonna be 5 p.m. his time because he's 1 hour behind. But I can't do it. And you know what? Because I'm tired. I'm on, like, I have energy when I'm on YouTube doing the show. Wait a minute, start it now. Log on. Um, like I preserve my energy for 9 p.m. Eastern on Mondays and Thursdays, and then 8 p.m. on Saturday night. But Saturday is a weekend. But Twitter Space is something different. And hello to everybody on YouTube. I'm streaming live on the Real Just Joe Brown YouTube channel. Our main channel, the Real Dana. I always when we do a live show, I go back and chop it up and I upload it in clips. What the hell is this? Oh my god. What is going on? I hope nothing is going on with the Wi-Fi. I hope nothing is going on with the Wi-Fi right now. Because the Wi-Fi was down earlier. Okay, we're back up. So anyway, um, on my main channel, I chop up the live show and I upload it as clips, but I will upload it in on the Real Judge Joe Brown YouTube channel. And apparently with YouTube, you cannot take content from somebody else and upload it on your channel without doing any commentary. Like it was a straight, it was like it wasn't like I was talking over it or whatever. So they thought that I was reusing, they call it reuse of content. But it was my content from my other channel. It's just that the channel that I was uploading it was on, it is named The Real Judge Joe Brown, and it had a different email, but it was still my email. And it was going, and then the monetization was still going to my AdSense account on Google and my account and my bank account. So it got demonetized. This YouTube channel that this stream is on, The Real Judge Joe Brown, got demonetized for reusing my own damn content. It is embarrassing to a certain degree, but this shit is funny. You can't make this up. So you have to do a video explaining how you created this content, and I did it. You gotta go step by step in video. And it was like, nope, wasn't good enough. So now I have to reapply for monetization in June. And I had to delete all those videos that I used from my other channel. It's so crazy. So that's my demonetization story. So the judge will be up shortly. Actually, I am going to send him the link because he said he doesn't need it because I sent it to him earlier. But just to be on the safe side, because it takes the judge a minute to log on because I say he has this snail Wi-Fi. So if anybody want to request to come up, do so. We're going to be talking about, of course, where's Diddy and that whole debacle. The Key Bridge collapse, not a cyber attack. Don't think this is leave the world behind. No, it's not World War III digitally. Our president said it is not a cyber attack. Yes, out of the White House. So we should all feel safe. However, it's unfortunate for the workers that were working on the bridge, like filling the potholes, and a few cars that were on the bridge that were caught on the bridge before they closed it down. You know, God rest their souls because they got caught in a collapse. So unfortunate. However, if they didn't send that mayday in when they did for them to shut down a bridge, it probably would have been more casualties, but there were still casualties nonetheless. So yeah. But if anyone of you guys want to request to come up now, you can before the judge come up. It should be interesting. But I think starting next week, we're going to go back to an earlier time. I don't like doing YouTube. I don't like doing Twitter Space this late. And I think the judge prefers this time because we do YouTube. But no, the X Space has to be different time. Definitely has to be a different time. Hi TJ. Hi Judge Too Good, Food Chill, Sandra. That's everybody. That's some people on YouTube. Hi Mac Maga, Arnessa, Mr. Damson. Yeah, hi guys. I wish he would hurry up. And this is what I'm talking about. Because I'm tired. I'm tired. Like I said, if you want to request to come up to talk before the judge come, please do so. And then we're talking about other things too. So it's not like we have to stick to these two topics. I think I'll put some other stuff in a thing. Hi Michael. Good, how are you?
I am fine. First, I am so sorry your channel got demonetized. Unfortunately, you can be flagged for plagiarism for not crediting yourself, or you just copying your. Yes, it's a real
Right.
academic thing. like people have gotten expelled for taking for redating the work that they did previously.
Oh my God. It's kind of embarrassing, right? But it's
Yeah.
like shit. I don't know. It's like I should have known better, but then again, it's like I did it to myself, so I can't blame YouTube for censorship. No. And it's the reason was reuse of content, meaning using somebody else's content, but it was my own damn content.
Exactly.
But I didn't know that was an academic thing. That's
It
wow.
is.
Oh, it's
bullshit.
Mag.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's crazy. Oh my God. So it's like, and I share it as like a funny story because it's kind of depressing.
Yeah.
But it is funny. My channel got demonetized because I used my own content. Crazy. Hi, Real Queen. So we
Hello
just
there,
touched.
Dana. How are
Hi.
you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Just got off work.
Oh, you did.
So they
So are you on the
demonetized your
West Coast
channel?
or huh?
They demonetized you?
YouTube? Yeah, my one of my YouTube channels were demonetized.
Yeah, that's the Marxist left for you.
True, but I mean, it pays the most. So it's like we content creators, we kind of complain a little bit, but we really don't go
Mhm.
anywhere because it does pay the most. So it's like
Mhm.
you pick your battles. Um, so yeah, we
But you
just
know,
wait.
in the war, they cut off your finances.
Huh?
I said in war, they cut off your finances.
Yeah, but are we in
Hmm
war? You think
It's
we
an
in war?
information war. Information war.
True. Well, that's why a lot of people talk about
Yep.
celebrity
You
gossip
want to
and
control
relationships.
your content. It's a narrative control with YouTube.
Yeah, they've gotten better. They have because people started suing them, so they've gotten better. But a lot of
Hmm
people know if you talk about celebrity gossip, relationships, or even business, you get pushed out there more in an algorithm. That's like more of the safe zones. Or if you have a do-it-yourself YouTube channel, like those are all safe zones.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
politics is like that's the danger zone, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Yeah.
YouTube is television.
Yeah, it's like who watches cable or TV or the news? Like we are the news. And X is the spot right now.
hmm
Oh yeah.
Well,
So
we
it's
just
your
waiting for
next
the
time
judge to
doing
come
it?
up.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Okay.
it takes him a minute, and I always keep saying this just in case it's like new listeners or whatever. So it always, even when we're doing a show together, it always takes him a minute to come up. But anything else? Because we haven't been doing a Twitter space. And it seemed like I'm back at square one. Did anybody want to say anything about the Diddy or the Key Bridge collapse or anything
Yeah,
else
I'm
that's
just
going on?
about to ask you your thoughts on it.
On which one? On the Key
The
Bridge or
bridge.
Diddy?
Yeah, the bridge.
Well, oh, that's right, because I did mention it before you came up. I mean, listen, it's unfortunate that a lot of innocent people, well, not a lot, but the people that were on the bridge working or driving, got caught up in that, and lost their life. It could have been worse, but that Mayday, did shut the bridge down, so it was like less casualties. But when I saw that, first thing came to my mind was that movie Leave the World Behind when a cargo ship came up on the beach. And so, but looking at the video, you see they
Hmm
lost power, and it's like, yeah, how do you crash in front of the bridge pole?
hmm Great question. With GPS navigation, how do you do that? You know what I mean?
And it's like, okay, you lost power, so you didn't have control over it, but why wasn't it floating in a direction of the space where you go through? So,
Hmm
but then you have the White House, the Biden administration said it was not a cyber attack. I don't want it to be a cyber attack. So I don't have
hmm
time to be living a discomfort life like other people do in other countries. I don't have time for that. I'm a pampered American and I want it to stay that way.
Well,
Right.
you could, I now come to think of it, and maybe this is just me reach, and I could be completely wrong. I hope I'm wrong because remember when the Titanic sank like over 100 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it is reported that have a lot of it could be avoided by the captain of the ship or whoever's controlling the ship would heed the warning of the iceberg.
Right.
So maybe it was just the fact that there was a previous warning and they didn't heed to it until it was too late.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Maybe when the power came out, that's when it was an indicator that something was wrong. But I mean, but shouldn't the ship already been in position to go through to go under the bridge where it's supposed to go? Like they got really close to the damn pole. So I don't know. And then I did ask the judge, and he could say what he wants to say on it when he comes up. But I did ask him. I said, "Listen, that ship, that cargo ship, You know, you're talking about hedge funds, venture, you know, Wall Street, a lot of different companies from Wall Street have ownership of that ship. And you're talking about insurance policies, right? So you're talking about billions of dollars in insurance claims. I said, do you think that the corporations did something for it to crash so they could cash in on insurance? And he was like, no, because they will go to jail for that. That's a highly criminal offense. That's murder, basically. But maybe I've been watching too many movies. But yeah, TJ, he's coming up. He got slow Wi-Fi, so it takes him a minute. It takes him a minute to get 2 bars or a bar to log on. So he'll be up. But yeah,
But then
so go ahead.
I'm sorry. Well, I say, but I'm sorry. I was going to say, but then again, don't we can't necessarily sleep on fiction if I'm because because some things that are made for fiction actually is a precursor of what's going to happen if you don't pay attention. Oh, by the way, I meant to make a comment on that on yesterday's Man Up show when I made the comment of Eric, the late Eric was warned us 75 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Blair is the real name. George Orwell is a pen name.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So I'm like, who's Eric?
Yeah, yeah. But
Also true
I
that
think
Orwell was affiliated with the League of
Mhm.
Nations. Is that true?
That part I need to read into, so I'm not going to say confirm or deny it.
Isn't the League of Nations, aren't they Jewish?
No, it's the WEF now, World Economic Forum.
But the League of Nations, then they have like isn't it some, hold it. Why are you retweeting and not logging on? There you go. I'm like, what are you doing? It's the League of Nations, isn't it some like dark history there?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I thought it was like
It's global government,
but I thought it
basically.
was like
New World
Jewish,
Order.
like a Jewish it was founded by Jewish people. I may be off.
Might
I
have
don't
been.
know. I have slow Wi-Fi and it helped me tremendously and it's cheap. Okay. Oh, Deco. Okay, so I'll let him know about the
To
Deco.
speak on that, the League of Nations was an idea of the first Democratic U.S. president since the Civil War, Woodrow Wilson, who had this idea that they would set up a League of Nations to preserve the free world and spread the white man's burden. So he proposed it, got everybody in Europe to go along with it. Japan too, since Japan was in alliance with Great Britain to provide sea power in the Pacific so the English could concentrate in Europe. And when Europe adopted it after World War I, the American Senate refused to ratify the treaty. So since the U.S. was not involved in it, and basically the arrangement had no teeth, it failed. After World War II, the movement revived, and this time it resulted in the United Nations, which does have some enforcement power. However, there is a veto power that existed that could stem from the US and Russia, which were the two most powerful nations in it. England, that had been weakened, but they still had the atomic bomb. France, out of respect for its previous status. And you had China, but it was not the People's Republic of China. It was the China of Chiang Kai-shek, who 4 years later, 3.5 years later, got deposed by Mao Zedong and he fled to Taiwan. So we had a number of other entities that joined the United Nations.
That's what, yeah, the League of Nations, the United Nations came out of that. Okay. But did it?
It's the intent is the same, but the United Nations is a lot stronger because there is a military aspect to it. There really wasn't much that the League of Nations could do.
Okay. Well, where do you want to start? Because I have the Key Bridge collapsing. Where's Diddy? And then, anything else that when people request to come up, y'all could bring up other stuff if you like. But where do you want to start, Judge?
Maybe we should just touch on Diddy first, very briefly, because here's the problem I have with the whole thing. There is this trend right now where the feds get involved in something, and what they're actually up to is not what they say they're up to. Why would they be serving a search warrant on Diddy? Here's the problem. The Department of Homeland Security is chartered to improve the security of the United States. The work of that department embraces customs, border, and immigration enforcement, and somewhat of an incongruity, emergency response to natural and man-made disasters. I imagine that came in because they were concerned about the disaster that happened on 9/11. And they said since that was man-made, they might as well put natural disasters. Also, it is concerned with anti-terrorism work and cybersecurity. Now, what they are talking about and what Diddy is into doesn't look like border, customs, or immigration matters. It doesn't look like an emergency response to a natural or man-made disaster. And it doesn't seem to involve anti-terrorism work or cybersecurity. So just what the devil was Homeland Security up to? Ordinarily, if there is a crime that would involve interstate activity where it crossed state lines, that would be the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, not anybody else. So where do they get in on this and what are they up to? And we still don't know if they've got a warrant for his arrest. This was just probable cause to serve search warrants. They're looking for something that supposedly would be in line with customs, border, and immigration enforcement, or some response to a natural or man-made disaster or the imminent occurrence of that, anti-terrorism work, and or cybersecurity. Now, to prevent it, that would be the domain of the FBI. So again, what are they up to? And it was not a situation where they went on, as the papers put it, the news media put it, a raid with the intent of arresting somebody and perhaps conducting a search incident to arrest. It appears that they went to serve search warrants in at least 2 states. So I'm a little curious as to what's really behind this. I have seen that a lot. You get an FBI raid that the local newspapers pass off as the FBI came in, to serve a search warrant, and what they're searching about has to do with a state crime. The FBI does not get involved in state crimes. It's got to be a federal offense.
Do you think he'd be charged with sex trafficking on a federal level?
That's FBI. The FBI was invented before World War I to deal with sex trafficking. That's what its purpose was. They were interested in getting rid of the flaunt that the first black world heavyweight champion, Jack Johnson, was causing. He had a white wife and she traveled with an entourage of white women. They did not like that. So the FBI was set up for the sole purpose of investigating sex trafficking or taking women across state lines for illicit purposes. So that led to the Mann Act, which is amongst other charges, the federal ones that were brought against R. Kelly. So they got Jack Johnson when he and his wife were traveling to the coast to get on a ship to go to Europe. And they crossed Georgia and they just had a corner to go across. And they traveled through Georgia for 15 minutes approximately. And when they stopped, the nascent FBI raided the train and put him under arrest because his lawful wife, a white woman, was not lawfully married in the state of Georgia that did not recognize interracial marriage at the time. So he was arrested, put to trial, convicted. He escaped. He got away to France. He stayed there until his mammy wanted him back. She just had to see him. He tried to sneak back in. He got caught. He served his time. And when he got out, he got killed in a car wreck in 1946. That's the official version of facts. So the FBI was created to set up the Mann Act, and that was to catch Jack Johnson. And what happened is during World War I, since it was set up as an investigative agency, it had the expanded task of looking into German spies, because there was no other U.S. agency on the federal level that was set up to do investigation. And then after World War I, when they got prohibition, it was modified so its task included the investigation of the production and distribution of legal alcohol. And then the task embraced doing something about contraband alcohol, i.e., bootlegging, but they were not authorized to carry firearms. So they could not do that without a dependency upon local law enforcement. J. Edgar Hoover, who had worked as an informant in the New York brothels and masqueraded as a third floor fancy boy for those with that kind of taste, became well acquainted with some of the prostitutes in the New York brothels and got a lot of information, blackmail wise, on New York politicians and nearby federal elected officials who were just a short train ride away in Washington, D.C. So he blackmailed a lot of people from what he found out about their sexual adventures into allowing the FBI to be armed. The original qualifications to be an FBI agent were such that they wanted attorneys who specialized in tax and certified public accountants, which isn't exactly what you would embrace as a badass going around taking down most wanted fugitives. For that, they brought in special agents like Melvin Purvis and Elliot Ness and a few others.
Yeah, Elliot Ness, that sounds familiar. That's been referenced throughout the
Untouchables in
years.
Chicago.
Oh, okay. Well,
See, they
okay,
were
so
cops, and they, like Melvin Purvis, was supposed to have killed 45 or 50 men in his career as a cop, a detective. So he wanted to kill her. And Elliot Ness was also known as a gunfighter and killed 25 or 30 people in his career. In those days, they didn't ask. They just walked up and blew somebody away if they had a warrant out for them. And that's how they operated.
Oh, okay. Well, fast forward to Diddy, just to wrap up your remarks on that. But if people request to come up, if you want to ask a question or say something about Diddy, of course you can. So
In other words,
overall,
I can't fathom any idea from what the reports are as to why Homeland Security would be involved in this. So
well,
that's all I can say. I
right.
don't get it from what they claim. They never said what they were looking for.
No,
And
I think that,
even if it was sex trafficking, that would be the FBI, not Homeland Security.
but the FBI was there as well.
Yeah,
But
but you don't have Homeland Security. That's like
right. I
you
think they're
would.
trying to build a case of sex trafficking because they say they were
I
looking for videos. They were looking for
Yeah, but
some little girl that was reported
that's
missing.
still FBI. That is not Homeland Security. They
Right.
don't have that jurisdiction.
So you think were they being dramatic for the cameras and the media?
No, something else is going on. What I was getting into was that oftentimes when you get this case where situation where the FBI say goes in because they're serving a search warrant, and what the press says is it's about something that's a state charge. That's a cover. That usually means that the FBI is trying to get some federal crime established by getting evidence on somebody. They don't want it known, and they want that person to be a stooge or an informant for something they're trying to get on somebody else. That's what
So
looks
you
like is
think they
going
want
on
Diddy to
here.
be an informant?
That might be what they're doing because I can't think of
Maybe he
anything that
already
they
is an
would.
informant.
Well, maybe not, but they're trying to coerce him. And the other thing is, whatever they found, they don't seem to have wound up being an arrest warrant from it. Maybe they
You're in the
want to
matrix
submit
a little
something
bit,
to a
Judge.
grand jury.
Okay.
Well, yeah, but we can go on because I don't have any answers for that. I practiced a lot of criminal law, federal and state, over a lot of years, had a lot of trials, and this just doesn't make sense unless that's what they're doing.
No, right. I appreciate it, especially when we did this show yesterday, because listen, everybody else, they just running with the headlines and it's really their opinion while other people are talking. But for you to highlight that, why is Homeland Security there? They're not supposed to be there. Their role is for XYZ. And then you also highlighting, listen, because the FBI there, this is something, like you said, it's like a cover up for something that they're really investigating, but they don't want the public to know. So I think this rabbit hole goes deeper. And oh, Judge, you are so much in the matrix, honey. Can you guys still hear me?
Well,
Yes,
Yeah,
Dana,
we
we
can
can
I can
still
still
hear
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 you.
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 Okay.
Good evening, Dana.
Hi, Dr. Mark. Yeah, damn. Say something, Judge.
testing, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh my God. Yeah, I don't know. What is going on?
Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, now you
Can
sound
you hear
better.
me?
That's good.
Yeah, okay, now you sound
In
better.
other words, you said I could hear you. I don't know. It goes in and out over here where I am. I've had several somebodies I've had out here checking the system. Like somebody is listening in on you.
Yeah, and then you also got banned. You didn't get approved for your TSA, so you on somebody watch list, honey.
Yeah, I know. Wait a minute. Wait. I went and got a little further. Check this one out. You'll love this one. On the TSA bit, this one is real cute. It says your TSA pre-check, et cetera, is pending. It is subject to adjudication upon your qualifications. What the hell does that mean? I've had it for 20 years.
Adjudication. Does that mean you have to go to court?
Adjudication. No, that means they're deciding on whether I'm qualified for it. Now, I've only had it for 20 goddamn years.
But this is the thing, TSA.
And wait a minute, I've got the receipt here, the electronic receipt for paying the fee, and it says, wait a minute, you love this one. It says be advised, it usually takes from 3 to 4 days for a new application to be approved. Now, I've been in this for more than a month, and mine's been out there for 20 years. This would be the 4th or 5th renewal. And it ain't like I'm new to their system.
Well, why would they deny you when TSA? That means they do an extensive background check, and it
That's
could
part of Homeland Security too, by the way.
right. So they should be glad that you want to be part of
I
TSA.
know, but that's harassment. This is what this administration is doing a lot of. Just
Well,
flat out harassment.
but speaking of this administration, the Biden administration, you know, Joe Biden gave a 5-minute press conference about the Key Bridge collapse. And he said it was not a cyber attack. This is not a digital World War III going on. And they're looking into, I guess, the malfunction that caused it. So, what are your thoughts? Because first thing came to my mind was leave the world behind when that cargo ship came up on the beach. Um, and like I said earlier in this space, when I first started it, I do not have time to be caught up in a digital or a real war of World War III because I am a pampered American and I want to stay that way. So I don't got time for all this cyber tech mess.
Well, what's happening is you've got a cargo ship, and they had difficulties. The ship radioed that it was out of control, it had lost power. And the way things are set up now, with the type of power plants they have on board ships, if the power plant goes out, oftentimes that means that you don't have steerage. They don't necessarily have rudders. They have propellers that are on maneuverable pylons under the ship instead of a fixed set of propeller shafts with a propeller at the end. It's like they've got these swivel bottom ends for outboard motors, even on the large ships. And when they lose power, they can't steer the thing. So they radioed ahead with a mayday saying they were in trouble. They lost power and they were moving at approximately 9 knots, 9 miles an hour, which would be about 5 or 6 knots. They call it nautical miles an hour. And they were being carried by the current. And if you multiply that energy equals mass times velocity squared, 9 miles an hour times squared times, say, 30,000 tons, you got a lot of energy that'll take down a whole lot of stuff down. There's some stuff out there on TikTok that looks to me just like lighting that is strung along some wiring that goes from one shore to the other is ripping off as the bridge falls, and they're mistaking those for dynamite charges, but they're not nearly massive enough, nor in the locations that would be appropriate to take that bridge down. So it looks like an accident, and Lloyd's of London will be getting some action. Lloyd's of London is a consortium. It's a clearinghouse. Uh, it's an exchange like Wall Street, where people come in and put bids on whether or not they want to be involved in insuring ships or airplanes or expeditions and stuff like that. It goes back to the Middle Ages or the Renaissance, so to speak.
Do you think that any criminality of Lloyd's of London or corporations or Wall Street for insurance
It
claims?
would have to. It's on a navigable river, so the Corps of Engineers would have primary jurisdiction, as does the Coast Guard. So it would be federal, since navigable rivers are federal jurisdiction. And it would depend on whether or not there was gross negligence or culpable malfeasance. considering the mayday in the so far indicated circumstances, it's an accident. Like some car wrecks might result in somebody being liable for a moving violation, or if it's recklessness or um, such, like perhaps a criminal charge, but for the most part, it just becomes an accident, a negligent situation where if there's proximate cause between the operation of a person's vehicle, ownership of the vehicle, or the condition of a vehicle, and somebody gets injured and there's a proximate cause between that, the person would be liable to somebody and they might be stuck with damages, compensating the person for the loss that was otherwise avoidable.
Okay. Um, I go to Real Queen, then I'm gonna go to Dr. Mark and Michael. I don't, if you wanted to say something. Anybody else want to request to come up, please do so. The floor is open. You can ask about the bridge, Diddy, and anything else you have on your mind. Go ahead, Real Queen.
So, Judge, would the NSA be involved if Diddy was sex trafficking undocumented immigrant women?
Maybe, but it's usually the FBI. Remember, here's their mandate. I'll read it again. Mandate for the Department of Homeland Security is to deal with customs, border, and immigration enforcement, an emergency response to natural and man-made disasters, and deal with anti-terrorism work and cybersecurity. Now, if there's something that's got to do with border and ICE and trafficking, perhaps, but usually they would leave it to the FBI for the internal enforcement. And somebody had to convince a federal judge or magistrate that there was probable cause to issue search warrants.
And so, do you also believe that that bridge incident could be used by the left, the Demo party, against MACA and Trump?
I don't believe anything, but I don't believe in anything. I have opinions that are formed by analysis of best available data, information, experimentation, and an application of experience and some knowledge of the ways of the world. Now, I don't know. That would be rank speculation. It's possible, but there's not enough information that I have available to be able to reach any kind of reasonable conclusion. Yes, that could be the case, but there's nothing to indicate that it is at this point. Ships happen. You have water, you have steel. Steel is ferrous iron alloyed with carbon and a few other things, nickel, chrome, molybdenum, and some other stuff, but it rusts. And when you have anything that corrodes and rusts, and salt water or fresh water both break things down, so this will be in salt and fresh water, corrosion and all sorts of things come into play. Every ship that size basically is a prototype, unless they've made several of them. In other words, there's a class. So all of them are quasi experimental, and they have what they call shakedown cruises of new vessels because they're large constructs and they have to find out what works and what does not work. So it is not unusual for a ship to have problems. Ordinarily, not the kind where you get a total power loss.
Mark, Dr. Mark.
Good evening. How you doing, Judge Dana? Always good
All
to see
right.
you. Go. Always good to speak to you. I want to talk about this whole Diddy thing. Um, just because I mean, it just first it started with Cat Williams, like just predicting like that these deviants would be exposed. I mean, I'm from New York, so I mean, for the longest, we've heard the rumors about Diddy. Um, I was shocked to hear about Meek Mill being mentioned in that, but and now you're seeing like these former Nickelodeon stars, like quiet on the set, just coming out, giving their stories about pedophilia and all these weird, um, sick perversions. And the short end of it is that the theme that Cat Williams and others have said is that in order to like be in that industry, you're going to have to debase yourself like in some sort of way, most likely sexually. Um, but there's also like some theories out there that there's higher ups above Diddy, and like right now Diddy's being sacrificed and so forth. Dana, Judge, I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, do you think there's like this really just sick, perverted um, mindset that just partakes in such activity just for pleasure? I mean, what exactly is it? And to Cat Williams' point, he said in 2024 they'd all be exposed. I mean, I just want. I mean, I'm confused. I'm shocked. I just want to hear somebody else's thought on it. And Dana, I respect your opinions and your thoughts, and you too as well, Judge. And if anybody else cares to comment, please let me know because I'm confused. This is a lot.
Well, I'll just comment real quickly. I just think that they always have to have a fall guy, and like Bill Cosby, now Diddy, R. Kelly, but this rabbit hole goes deep. And I do agree, there are top players, people at the top, the creme de la creme, who controls all this deviant stuff or a part of it or created it. But these are people that, to a certain degree, participated in deviancy. But when it's time, to pay the piper, they're gonna throw the pawns out there to be the scapegoat, and Diddy is one of them. So because even people say, "Oh, R. Kelly, what he did was wrong," but why aren't the parents getting arrested? Why aren't the record label executives getting arrested? I'm talking about not just R. Kelly, but all these situations. When we look at the YSL, they are on RICO trial. Well, why are you not holding the record label accountable under RICO to a certain degree? So again, other people need to be front and center when it comes to this type of deviancy being exposed. Because Diddy didn't start it. He's not the only one. He's just a pawn in a big ocean of what do you call them? Of demons, of deviancy. So yeah.
I mean, is it like why is he being like? Candace Owens said, Diddy is just a pawn. He's what you just said. Like he's being sacrificed to protect the higher ups, but why is he being sacrificed? And what I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm saying it's a
Well,
hard
why
question.
not? It's like when you are a part of stuff like that, somebody got to be sacrificed, and he's not. And it also goes to show you he didn't have much. What is that? It's an echo. He didn't have much power really to begin with, in the type of circle he runs around in. Honestly, and okay, let me just step out here on the edge, and then I'll throw it to you, Judge, if you want to comment. Um, so he put this quote unquote statue in his backyard of the mansion that got raided in LA. That's supposed to be of Kim Porter, his late girlfriend slash baby mama. And he was like, so the statue is supposed to like resemble her. It's the weirdest shit because it's no head, it's no arms, and it's like all silver, right? I guess it's like of a woman body, but with no arms, no head, and no legs. And I'm supposed to be like this monument for her. And to me, honestly, I'm not into that demonic, satanic ritual shit, but I think that was part of it because I just thought that was just so weird. So Listen, when you're
If I
in it,
might,
if you're in it, somebody got to be sacrificed, and it's going to be the low bearing fruit first before they get to the top. But go ahead, Judge.
okay, what you're talking about is that statue he has, other than the fact that it's silver, is his takeoff on Venus de Milo. It's a famous bit of Roman statuary where the head, arms, and legs are missing. But the beauty of it has given it notoriety throughout the last 2,000 years. So that's where that comes from. Now,
Okay.
the other thing is, I dealt with criminal charges that came from this, either as a prosecutor, defense lawyer, or as a presiding judge. It's work. And the best thing I can say about it is be vigilant about criminal activity in the community or in the nation. But when it comes to something like this, what is it that Obi-Wan told Luke? Patience is a great virtue, Padawan. In other words, be patient. Don't fall into the trap of having an inquiring mind that just needs to know and get pandered to by people trying to entertain you and keep their ratings up. So it will develop in the fullness of time. Just think back when you were a kid and you wanted to run downstairs or run into the front room on the 25th and see if there was anything under a tree, assuming there was a tree. Just be patient. It'll all develop. And if it's important enough to impact your tomorrow, be interested. If it's not, just deal with it as a minor curiosity.
Michael, I didn't know if you wanted to say anything.
Actually,
Go ahead.
actually, I do. I wasn't, but now I have a specific comment about
Wait,
about
what
people.
can I? 1 second. Can I go to a new speaker? Then you? Then I'm gonna swing back to Real Queen.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
So what is this? IMISSMAR. I don't know how to pronounce that, so I just spelled it out.
It says, I miss Maretta.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Dana and Judge Brown. Judge Brown, I would like for you to visit with me the Key Bridge collapse. I live in Dundalk where the bridge collapsed, and I depend upon traveling over that bridge every morning to go to work. And there are people in my community who are not going to be able to get work because they unload the ships that come in with the containers. Um, it's a lot of people in my community that depend upon that bridge and the
Is this
waterway that
working?
taps the river for our
Yeah, I'm sorry.
livelihoods.
I'm sorry. 1 second. Can you hear? I miss.
I miss
Yeah,
Maretta. Can you hear me?
yeah, Dr.
I
Mark.
hear you.
Okay, good. All right, all right. He just went off his mic by accident. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And so I would like to know. I know the president
Oh,
said to.
it's not. I thought it was Imus's turn to speak. I was waiting on him.
Well,
Huh?
let's see.
What did you say?
I thought Imus was speaking. I
Yeah.
thought yeah. Okay, I was just making sure.
Okay. Go ahead, I miss.
Okay.
Okay, so I wanted to talk. I know the president said today that the federal government was going to build a bridge. Okay, so but I wanted to talk about like liability with that container ship and that company Synergy, which owns that container ship, about like the causes of actions that could be brought against that company for impacting the livelihood of the people within our community here in Dundalk. I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for myself that my livelihood is going to be impacted. So would I um, have a cause of action against Synergy for hitting the bridge?
It would be a class action because there's a class of people that would be impacted by the same event. So they would consolidate all of the
Mm-hmm.
potential actions as a class.
Okay.
in order not to ruin somebody, which is a possibility, they wouldn't have it subject to a large collection of individual judgments unless there were special cases or someone opted out of a class. The liability would be to a great extent determined by the circumstances. We have a situation where you've got at least a 10, 15,000 ton vehicle, 15,000 tons, which is several million pounds of weight moving at 9 miles an hour. That's a lot of energy, and there are very few structures in the world that could stand a collision with that. But we want to carry out the commerce, which is very necessary to our day-to-day lives, especially since most of the worldwide traffic in heavy bulk goods is by sea. So it's something we have to put up with if we're going to exist. That's how we get automobiles and raw materials and finished products from overseas here and from here to overseas going the other way. Now, it'll be looked into. The Coast Guard is going to conduct an investigation. And if there's a disaster situation, guess what? Here we go again with Homeland Security. That's what their domain is about. This is what Homeland Security is supposed to be investigating, is situations like this.
Okay.
So let's see. I don't have enough facts. It would be pure guesswork, speculation, and irresponsible to be talking about what's going to happen with this little knowledge at this point.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so very much.
And by the way, the big, long, and short of it is, it's collateral damage. When you operate a motor vehicle, and the convenience of operating a motor vehicle at high speed on a highway occasionally misfires, people die or get maimed. But we are willing to accept the collateral damage for the convenience. That also extends to our citizenship. Things like free speech and other things carry collateral damage liability. But we're willing to put up with the liability of the collateral damage in order to be a free society, because free speech is so important. We cannot restrict free speech because some little weakling wants to kill themselves. Let them go kill themselves. There are so many people that died in battle, in struggles for labor, civil rights, and a lot of other things to set this up, that we cannot give away what has been earned because a few people are hurt by the collateral damage. Likewise, when we have sea trade, there is collateral damage that will occasionally occur as a result of the convenience and the necessity of such kinds of trade.
Okay.
Now, that's the long and short of it.
Okay. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm just gonna say I miss.
Thank you, Dana.
You're welcome. All right, I'm gonna go to Michael and Ricky, and then I'm gonna swing back to you, Real Queen. Go ahead, Michael.
First off, hey Judge, how are you?
All right, sir.
Well, I had a comment about the whole what's going on with Diddy and other famous entertainers. And Dana, you pretty much pulled the low hanging fruit out of my mouth as far as when it comes to the most famous of all, they're going to sacrifice what they can just so they can keep themselves up top. Nothing new, but my perfect solution is pay attention to not. There are a lot of actors, musicians, and writers who are not famous nor want to be famous, but they just dare to do the work and don't have to go through the humiliation ritual just to sustain themselves. Like it, like if for those who, so yes, there are people who do nefarious shit, but you don't have to. At the same time, you don't have to take it. You could just take the hard route, and if you perhaps get famous over time without going through that, then at least you have your integrity.
Okay.
You know?
Thank you for that. I want to go to Ricky and then swing back to Real Queen. And anybody else want to request to come up, please do so.
Hey, what's up? How you doing, Dana? What's up, Judge?
Hello.
How are you?
Quick question about Diddy. So how do prosecutors, when they set up these cases where it's like 10 or 15 years since the alleged assault happens, how do they get corroborating evidence for these assaults? And also, do you think that a defendant, somebody like Diddy, can even get a fair trial, considering that the rules of evidence and everything is so permissive? Is stacked against the defendant where they really can't defend themselves from something that happens 20 years ago, and then you can get all kinds of witnesses and there's no proof that anything that anyone is saying is true. What do you think about that, Judge?
Law works best when it is uniform in principle and application. Because it is a boutique situation, because there is a class of people who feels offended by the history of the country and they believe they are set upon and neglected. We have a set of laws that have come into being recently that deviate from the uniformity of law's application. As you just pointed out, there's a relaxation of the rules. There is a severe problem with allowing cases to be opened up that everybody forgot about because they timed out. That's like on your computer. When you've been on a site and done nothing for long enough, you get timed out and you have to re-enter the site, start all over again. They call those things statutes of limitations. And I'm just thinking about the Venus de Milo thing, statutes of limitation. In other words, if you don't do something about it within a certain time, get on with your life. It's best for yourself and society and everybody involved to just move on. Time is run. We have a situation now where somebody can be 65, 66, 67 years old, and in certain jurisdictions in the country, something somebody says he did when he was 15, 16 years old in the back seat of his Ford or in the pickup bed of his 150 Ford can be revived when he doesn't even remember who the person is, or she perhaps. That's not quite the way law evolved, and it's going to have some very serious and bad consequences. Now, that's my remark on it. I don't think it's wise. I think law needs to be consistent and even-handed in its applications. And there do not need to be exceptions to the law for a particular favored class. Because if you favor a class, that typically means that another class is being biased and prejudiced, and that's not the way the Constitution works. So some people want to be politically correct, and they do these things, and there are too few people that have ever had to apply the law, even judges who preside over courts, even prosecutors who are charged with protecting the public, and even the defense lawyers who are supposed to defend the public and keep the system honest and avoid oppression. Too many of them these days are rookies and amateurs, and frankly, we have too many lawyers in our system, too many people who want to turn the profession into a business, and too many people whose ambition is to be something from a point that causes it to be fixed in their mind before they even have a clue as to what it's all about. Ideally, to be a judge, to be a prosecutor, to be a defense lawyer, you're supposed to be and aspire to be even better at being learned and experienced in the practice of law and wise in the ways of the world. We've got a lot of people in this that are not. The fees are very high in proportion to what they do. Billable hours are sacrosanct for the corporate field because it helps the mega corporations make money when they have tax deductions they can write off to billable hours by corporate lawyers, but that spills over into ordinary practice with ordinary people, and these fees are high because there are too few clients to go around to the number of lawyers. They don't have volume, so they have to charge very high, ridiculously high fees to keep their doors open. And most of the time, there's a corollary that, with certain exceptions, the higher the fee you're getting charged, the less performance you're getting, because it gets to the point where the lawyer is paying more attention and more time to calculating his billing than he is to delivering the service, particularly in the criminal field. The best criminal lawyers are not the ones that charge the highest price, because they tend to be the ones that are dedicated to a cause. Also, contrary to popular belief, 90% of the time, the best lawyer you're going to find is a public defender who's been at it for a while. He has more experience than damn near anybody in private practice who has not been a prosecutor or a public defender. He has access to more forms, more case law, an investigative staff, and he's done it more, and he's more at ease in the court, with the court being a direct parallel for something like a tennis court or a basketball court. The more you get on there, assuming good health, the better you get. Now, that's something about the status of the law right now. I went a little bit above and beyond the comment
Yes,
on
you
what
did.
happens with specialties, because it's all tied in. Too many people that have law degrees, even law licenses, quote, don't know what the hell they're up to. And a few of them sit in legislative bodies and they come up trying to be politically correct with the worst garbage you can imagine when it comes to exceptions to the law, which comes back and haunts everybody in a decade. So, excuse the pontification.
And I think this stuff has already started to backfire.
Yes.
All right, I want to go to Real Queen, and then I'm gonna go to Derek, and then Cole, Katz, Rico, and the Negro. Go ahead, the Real Queen.
Names the Diddy list: Jay-Z, Beyonce, Will and Jada Pinkett Smith, because they're Illuminati as hell. I wouldn't be surprised, Judge, if it comes out they're being charged or investigated with sex crimes. Or even Kanye West, the way he's moving with his new girlfriend, around half-dressed and stuff, I wouldn't be surprised. What do you think?
I don't have any reason to disagree with you, and I have.
But where did you get this list from? Where did this list come from?
No, I'm just saying these names are highly suspect for sex crimes.
How? Like, I don't want to throw that out there, because you put Beyonce, Jay-Z, like, how are they suspect for sex crimes?
It's if I might interject, when we start making heroes out of people who get to be celebrities for their make-believe and expertise at formulating and performing distractions, we are going to get into a whole lot of crazy stuff, because you get people with so much extra time on their hands that you get into mischief. And when people are into fantasy and make believe as a living, there's no telling how far that will go in their real lives. And yes, Hollywood and the entertainment industry can and usually is a cesspool.
Of
There's
course
no
it
telling.
is.
By the
But
way,
I
by
don't
the
wait,
way,
let me
I
just say
have a
this. I don't
question.
wanna
Wait a minute. I've got a question of Madam here. Is that you on your site doing that? FJ Biden, Trump girls are hotter.
Yep, it's me.
Good
all right,
Lord.
thank you.
You
So
wait
what
a
I
minute,
want to
excuse
say
me.
is what I
You
want
wait a minute,
no,
hold
because
on
we
a
don't
second. Hold
know
on.
what you're talking
It's
about, and I
not
don't want
long.
to
It's
deter the
not long.
conversation.
It's not long. It's not long. That's you. You ought to be in the movies. My goodness.
Okay,
But
thank you.
anyway,
Let's move
I'll give you
on.
that.
I want to move
I'll
on.
give you that compliment.
Thank
I
you.
just
Yeah,
had to say
say
that.
thank you, real queen. I want to move on. I want to say something. Then I want to go on to other speakers because I'm tired. And let me just make this announcement. We're not started at 9 p.m. on X anymore. We're gonna go back to 6 p.m. Eastern, which is 5 your time. This is way too late for me for X. YouTube, we start at 9. That's fine, but now I can't do the X at 9. It's just too late for some reason. But before I go to Derek, my thing is, apparently one person who has this alleged lawsuit, civil lawsuit against Diddy, naming Prince Harry and a couple other people, that doesn't mean there's a list. Just because one person, and you don't even know what they're saying is true. Anybody could sue anybody for anything. So the fact is that, what you just sat up here for a good 3-5 minutes straight, Judge, talking about the legal process and lawyers and stuff like that. And my thing is, if but the problem is when you have social media or content creators and people that just want clicks, they say anything on the title, and this is mainstream media as well. There is no list for people to say, well, it's a list of all these so-called sex perv or whatever. Well, where's your proof at? So going back to whether it's Homeland Security and the FBI raiding Diddy, but he was not arrested, I think we need to just stop judging as if we're the judge and the juror. Stop judging people for something that we don't have any proof of. Yes, Hollywood is a cesspool, but does that mean that everybody in it, even though they may be famous, participated in what Diddy did? So it's a lot of conspiracies with Jay-Z, and then they're going to throw Beyonce in there because they're married. And there's a lot of things they're saying with Jay-Z and an ex-lover, and she ended up dying. And now they're trying to paint a picture of he had something to do with it. No proof. It's all conspiracy. It's all made up for clicks. So I just want to be mindful of, when people start talking about quote unquote a list, but there's no actual evidence that it is a list or that these people participated in something. And I am part of the Beehive. And y'all better not try to come
Well,
with Beyonce, honey, because the album drops Friday. Yes.
what,
Country
Dana,
Carter.
Dana, wouldn't you agree that Beyonce's own actions implicate her,
No, because she didn't do
along
anything. What actions?
like being half
So
nude
what? But wasn't you
everywhere,
half nude on your picture on X?
some and
Huh?
stuff like that?
So wasn't you?
Satanic.
Wait. You don't know if it was satanic or not, but wasn't you half nude on X with your picture?
Her being half nude does not incriminate
Exactly.
her. What are
And
we
she
talking
has a
about?
hot ass body with 3 kids, honey. She looked good. And Country Carter coming out on Friday. Yes. So no, please,
Well,
please don't put Beyonce in nothing. She is, you know what I'm saying? She's about her business. Now, what her husband has done in the past, that's his business. We don't got no proof or nothing. No, she's not a witch. It's a lot of witches that are not famous that be putting all types of stuff in a man's food so that he won't leave and all this other mess. Y'all need to worry about them witches. She's not a witch. Now her
But I'm just
husband,
saying,
on the other hand, he may be a whore or whatever, but still, we're not doing that. She ain't on no list. But let me go to the next speaker, Derek.
Hey, good evening, Judge and Dana. So I
Wait,
want to.
slow down. One second. I'm sorry, Derek. Judge, I just read your text. You need to. Let me just say this. That's a lie. I'm not going to read it out loud, but that's a whole lie. Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Derek.
Okay, is it safe?
Yes, it's safe.
All right. Yeah. So I have been watching this whole Diddy snowball. From the very beginning and watching how it formed, and I kind of saw. I knew that they would eventually come after him because it had the same feel that the R. Kelly case did. But what I noticed is the majority of uh, what they are, claiming that Diddy is guilty of is a lot of it is mostly speculation. A lot of it is hearsay. He say, she say. It's not a lot of actual circumstantial evidence and just hard, substantial evidence. So I guess what I wanted to ask is that, do you believe that Diddy is going to be charged? And this is, I'm addressing this to you, Judge. Do you believe that Diddy will be charged with a RICO charge because they are mentioning that? And is he actually on an island where they can't extradite him?
I have no idea. I don't trust the media. I've had cases on trial in my courtroom, criminal court, not the one on television. And what the media reported had absolutely nothing to do with the proof. And there's no way of telling. Like I said, patience is a great virtue. Let's wait and see. All things are possible.
I want to go
But
to Cole. Is he still up here? I can't see.
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay, there you go.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Your Honor, for letting me come on at this time. To start off with the whole Diddy thing, I don't think it's a good idea for everybody to get caught up in all the smoke and mirrors that's going on. There's a lot of, noise with that situation. So it's important to pay attention, but I wouldn't get too caught up in it because we don't know all the facts. This has just happened at once. And, it's just weird that Homeland Security is the investigating agency that's looking into all this and not FBI or some other three-letter agency that should be looking into it. Also, I haven't seen anything about him being on another island that's not extradition. I mean, we don't really know all that yet. We just know flight logs, and that could be an empty plane or whatnot. But anyways, I want to go ahead and pivot to the bridge collapse. So yesterday, the FBI appointed Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, appointed William J. Bogano, I believe that's his name, yesterday to be the new Baltimore FBI chief, the special agent in charge. And all of a sudden today, we got this big bridge collapse from a big tanker going point blank direct forward right into the primary pier that supports the truss and brought it all down. So my question to the judge is, do you think there's any maybe correlation, speculation? I mean, I kind of had the tinfoil hat on with this, but I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I have no earthly idea because I don't have any facts. I haven't talked to witnesses. I have not interviewed officers. I don't have any investigative reports I have acquired through discovery. I don't know what anybody's theory of the case is. And that is wild speculation. And I've learned over the years that oftentimes speculation typically is mere coincidence. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes there are conspiracies. But right now, that's too much chance involved in that. You don't get something that large, that unwieldy, and set something up. And as I said, there is some circulating footage that's supposed to show dynamite charges going off, but the flashes are too small, and what they look like is what often happens when you've got a structure like that. You've got lighting at the top designed to warn low flying aircraft, generally private aircraft, that there is an obstruction that they cannot see. The lights can be turned on, but what would happen typically if the structure goes down, the wiring stays intact to an extent. And when it is ripped off of the structure, the lights that are attached to it may flash. So that's what it looks like to me. They're too uniform and they're entirely too small, and they're in entirely the wrong places to bring that bridge down if you were trying to conduct a demolition. So there are all kinds of speculative things that are around and about this, but this is not unusual. It happens, not commonly, but it has happened before.
Yeah, and I fully agree with that. I mean, I've had people tell me that those are explosions. I mean, but when you look closely, yeah, it's just the friction of the metal on the concrete. So, thank you, Judge.
Okay.
Rico is next.
Hey, how y'all doing tonight? What up, Judge?
How are you?
What up, Miss Dana? No, I agree with you guys. I've been through a legal situation with myself where an ex-wife of mine, she accused me of some shit that wasn't true. And the stipulations, they brought me up to court for that. And I just don't know how you can accuse somebody from years ago and how that'll even stick in court. Like, anybody can say anything about anybody from back in the day. You know what I'm saying? And I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, it's so bizarre just how the whole court system, the judicial system is moving now. Like, I don't understand it. And that's all I had to say.
I hear your point. I hear your point.
I divorced my ex-wife, and she said I pushed her, and they arrested me for that. And I hadn't seen the girl in months. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm a plumber by trade, and I was going to work, and they came over like with 10 cops to arrest me, man. And like, I don't understand that.
You know what? I had a situation that was not dissimilar to that in my courtroom, and this woman was swearing up and down that this guy had assaulted her, abused her, and everything else, except in one instance, one of these guys had a hell of a witness. There was a sergeant detective for the police department that was working with him to solve a theft ring at his place of employment. And the detective spent 2 nights with him because they were worried about somebody doing something to him. So the woman who was claiming the guy assaulted her called him up a bunch of times. The detective recorded it. So at the time, she was saying he was doing something bad to her. This detective is recording her conversation on the phone. So he had a good witness. Another situation, I had a guy accused of rape. It was brutal. He got saved because at the time the rape was going on, allegedly going on, he was in the turret of a tank in the Fulda Gap in East Germany, And then M1, one of the early editions, M1 tanks with the 105, not 120 guns on it. And he was a sergeant. And he was crucial to the whole operation that was going on, the exercise. So they had voice recordings, everything of him. And he was in Europe, and he had not had leave for 2 months before that and didn't get any for a week after that. So it couldn't have been him. So there are instances where these kind of false accusations come up, and a lot of times people just don't have what they need, particularly when years have gone by. Who would know what you were doing on a date when you were 16 years old and you're 55, 45 years old? Who would you find 30 years later that you can even get in touch with? See, that's the problem.
And she even told me, Judge, she said she was going to ruin my life because I broke up with her and I wouldn't, like, I just didn't want to reconcile with her. And she told me that I'm going to ruin your life.
There it is.
Well, maybe you should get a restraining order out against her as for stalking you. Because men file charges against women nowadays. So I would definitely exercise your right and put a restraining order out on her. And every time you're around her, I will press record to record everything. So because she'll try to use it against you. Thank you, Rico. I want to go to the Negro, and okay, cats keep dropping down, and then cats, and then we could go around and last call if anyone want to come up and talk, or anybody up here want to speak again. Go ahead, the Negro.
Hey, how's it going, Dana? How's it going, sir? The judge, and always, thank you for holding these spaces.
All right.
Yes, sir. I'm going to start off with the Diddy one first. You talked about some of the how laws applied. Nicole Hannah Jones, the 1619 lady, right? She just dropped a new article, I think, in the New York Times or one of those New York papers or whatnot. She talked about color blindness and the effects of it on the criminal justice system. How do you think it's going to pan out with that being that bombshell being dropped along with Diddy's case? And the other thing I wanted to comment on, I find it very behooving that when King Flex is dropping this bomb-shaking documentary, and now they want to sit here and target our great people. I'm taking it from a whole different perspective, because when I look at all these other Hollywood weirdos or whatnot, they're not getting the same smoke like the Woody Allens of the world, Melissa Vundez of the world. On all the lists of these weirdos that are up in Hollywood, they don't get these smoke the way that they ought to.
Oh, don't forget Roman Polanski, who left the country.
Yeah, you guys kind of get the point where I'm getting at here. So I find that that's very upsetting. I find that it's very questionable. I feel like that Negroes, Black American people can't even hold a job or whatever without having an Astra to their name, without somebody hating on them. So that's the first statement that I had to that. And then now I'm going to talk about this Keystone Bridge. I'm starting to think that these nations are checking to see how well we respond to certain things. And there was something it was some type of map that I got to go find when I get a chance, where they talked about areas that are more prone to terrorist attacks. Majority of them were in Black American enclaves. So I am very, very concerned for the safety of the community that I represent or that I'm from. I feel like we're being left to the wolves, just like in COVID-19, instead of them giving us the necessary tools and the resources to combat these type of things and do this stuff on our own. So that's just some of the things I observed from both of those two cases. So salute to you, Dana, and salute to you as always, Judge.
Thank you,
bro. I'm a minority too. I'm Latino, bro. So
I'm not talking about minorities, sir. I'm talking specifically about Black American people. See, that's what's wrong with some of y'all immigrants. Y'all want to wedge yourselves into Black conversation. Like, I don't care what you are. You're not a Negro. And I was talking to the judge respectfully. So I don't need you to piggyback off of what I'm saying. I would like the judge to respectfully deal with a Black American issue, not a Latino issue.
Let me see.
We the same people, bro.
No, we
the
ain't the
same
damn
people,
same. You can stop
We
the cat.
live in the
Yo,
same
we
neighborhood,
ain't the
bro.
same. This is why we
We live in the
delineate.
same neighborhood,
Yo,
bro.
don't speak on my turn. Raise your hand like everybody else, sir. Respectfully.
Bro, we live in the same
Brother, I don't
neighborhood.
give a crap where we live at. Yo, dude, mute it up. You have nothing to do with us. See, that's what's wrong with y'all PRs. Stay in y'all place. Y'all immigrants. We're natives here. I don't know what their policies are, and I don't really give a damn. But I know you guys be grifting off of civil rights that don't belong to y'all. So back to what I was saying. I would like to speak to the
You
judge.
sound like a bigot, and you sound like you got hatred in your heart,
Oh,
brother.
you call it hatred on your heart? Well, fleeing from your nation, that's hatred too. That's self-hatred. Some of the biggest ones I've seen.
I didn't flee from.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. You fled from your. You fled from your bullshit.
Okay, so can we stop with the
Okay,
back and
hey
forth?
guys,
Judge,
hold on.
no,
hold
Judge,
on,
you didn't.
hold
You letting them talk. You not even stepping in, moderating it.
Hold on now.
You want to
They
step in
said-
when I step in.
No, hold on. Same timing, I guess. Gentlemen, I understand that animus can build up, but it doesn't get us anywhere right here. And there are other things on the table for discussion. So let's table that issue. And sometimes we might want to contemplate.
Judge, he just sounds like he has issues. He's calling me an
immigrant. You are a goddamn immigrant, and you're damn tethered. You should mind your business.
Stop.
Okay, bud.
There is a need in any circumstance, in any human intercourse, to deal with allies. You can even say the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And in your lifetime, both
Not an
of
immigrant.
Yeah,
there is going to be no majority race in the United States in 7 to 12 years. So,
and there's nothing wrong with that.
I don't understand. I'm saying is that's going to require coalition building. So, I understand the animus that I'm hearing, but it gets nowhere. And are you from Puerto Rico?
My grandparents are.
Okay. Puerto Rico is an American territory. Abraham Lincoln was born in an American territory. It's a state now. It's known as Illinois. A lot of American presidents and officials, generals, were born in what were territories that are now states. If you were born in Puerto Rico, you are eligible to run for U.S. president. You are eligible to hold any office that exists in the United States. You can move freely. You do not need a passport. If you get a passport to travel abroad, you get a U.S. passport. All right? You've got Spanish Harlem, which has been around for the last 130 years, and that's Puerto Rican,
where my family's
and
from.
that's black. And we had the Harlem Hellfighters from World War I, a supersized division that went over and fought in France with the French army. It was composed of American blacks and Puerto Ricans, and it was known as the Harlem Hellfighters. That old song from the late 50s, there is a rose in Spanish Harlem. That's what that's about. So it's.
Oh, you talking about Carlos Santana?
Well, there is a rose in Spanish Harlem.
Well, you're talking about, Judge. It's such an honor to talk to you. But when you said Carlos Santana,
it's not your turn, honey. So you could just be muted up. I ain't asked somebody to get off their goddamn mic. Stop. It's late.
But anyway, I'm trying to stop the animus going on here. It had to be vented because it's lurking. But
no, he called me an immigrant and he said derogatory words.
You're not.
Well, brother, hey, you are your status. Like, hey, you spoke on my turn. Like, what's up with this dude cutting on my turn?
Hold on. He did interrupt your turn. That's not in order. All right, so don't interrupt. We'll come to you. But he's not an immigrant. He is part of the United States.
Well, he's not a part of our justice claim. He's trying to wedge into our politics. I'm not talking about no damn black and brown. And this guy want to butt his nose into a black American conversation. And that's the problem with these bozos.
Hold on. would you call somebody who's born in Hawaii from an American state?
They're not a Negro, so I don't give a damn about them. You might not like my position, but it's really that strong.
Wait a minute. How about Alaska? There are a whole lot of black folk live in Alaska. I know a lot of them.
We're talking about natural citizens, Negro Americans that's connected to the 13th and 14th Amendment. I'm not talking about no other demographic, sir.
Hold on.
Like, stop adding this black and brown nonsense.
Wait.
Bro, he's bugged out.
Man, drop him out.
He's critical.
Hold on.
He's bugged out.
And this is that New York bullshit.
Hold on. I gotta correct you. Technically, if you're born in Puerto Rico, you are a full-blooded citizen of the United States of America.
That's because of the Don't Stanford Act, sir. That has nothing to deal with Negro American.
It's got nothing to do.
Like, come on, man.
That may not have to do with it. But hold on. The problem is if you get to Harlem, places like that, Detroit, other places, you've got people that have been there from Puerto Rico for the last 120, 130 years.
That's right.
And you don't
So what? They didn't fight in every war. Like stop coming with these false equivalents. Like, no, they did not fight in every war. They did not fight in the Revolutionary War. They did not fight in the Civil War. Like, not in the numbers that we fought in. And I'm tired of these false equivalents with these brown people. Like, stop the cap, bro.
Bro,
they're not.
You are an angry guy. You are an angry
Yeah, you can consider angry all you want. You just need to stop and mind your business.
Let's get off. Wait, stop. Everybody just stop. Let's get off of the race and nationality. And just a FYI, Spanish Harlem was written by Benny King. He is a black man. Aretha Franklin sang it. Of course, Carlos Santana.
Yeah, for sure. Malcolm X was around
Carlos
here too.
Santana remade it, but it was a song by Ben E. King. Just a little FYI reference. But anyway, who was next?
Well,
Ian.
the guys just settle down.
All right.
Yeah, so let me go to Ian.
Judge, there's such a
part of the United States of America. They're part of. It's a state territory.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Of the United States of America. The Constitution, specifically, and the law for 220, 235 years is granted full citizenship to members of states, territories, and protectorates of the United States of America. So,
all right, I want to go to Ian and then Stephen, and then Carlo.
Yeah. Evening, Judge. How you doing, Dana? Everybody. Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment, 2 comments, right? One comment, just piggybacking off of what Judge said. That is a nice video that Real Queen made. I just have to give a shout out.
Yeah. Damn.
Well, again, listen, that is not the topic. Move on.
Hey, you saw it.
Yeah, I seen it too. But move on, because I honestly, I think no. How about let me mute everybody for a second? No, we're not doing it. We're not doing that because I'll end up hurting somebody's feelings. So, like I said, move the fuck on to the topic. I don't care if you went in somebody else's Twitter and you saw something. Stay on topic. Please don't play with me today. Like, I've been really good for the past few months on this Twitter space. No, stop.
Don't worry about it.
No. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. And I said I will talk to you afterwards. Stop referring to that because I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings up in here. So go ahead, Ian. Speak to the topics so I could go on to other speakers.
Yeah. Just like I said, I just want to give that shout out. But
all right, so if you want to keep giving shout outs, then I can just drop you down.
Whatever. If you
come on, let's get to the topic. Get to the topic. This is not a thirst trap session. And your phone sound like shit. So wait a minute. One second. Drop down, Ian. Fix your goddamn Wi-Fi, and then come back up. Cause you in the matrix, and I don't got time. You wasted your time thirst trapping. So thank you. Fix your phone. Come back up, and I'll bring you back up. Let me go to Stephen. Is he still up here? Go ahead,
Yeah, I'm
Stephen.
still up there. Judge, how are you?
All right, sir.
You're a much respected person in our community, as we all know. Now, on the topic, I do have a few questions. I'll probably just have really one. What I wanted to ask, I know I don't want to backtrack too much, but the guy who talked previously about two callers ago, I think he was trying to get a point across, but the way he said it was so derogatory that it didn't get across. And when we say things like that, it
Is
could be
that the
misrepresented.
topic of tonight, sir?
Which,
I don't need you to piggyback off of a conversation that two people were going back and forth. Talk about the topics tonight, not nobody else. Thank you. Go ahead, Stephen. You can unmute. It's a delay. You can unmute.
according to what happened to Diddy, which happens to a lot of men, and I'm not saying, I'm not picking up for Diddy or anything like that, but do you think that the laws are so misconstrued in this country that there has to be something that has to be done unless that the society would continue to fall when it comes to charges that are accused, like R. Kelly's, the P. Diddy's in our community and so forth? Because as someone stated it before, when it comes to people who are non-black, those issues don't get pushed in the forefront where they're put on the news channels or CNNs. When it comes to us, it's pushed out there. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not taking up for anybody. But when I'm saying that, do you think it has to be laws put in place that the kind of derive these accusations? Because I guess what I'm saying is this: when one can make an accusation against you and it's false, they receive no penalty, but you still deal with the penalties of a false accusation. You get what I'm saying?
It's something that we've got a long several 1,000+ years of Anglo-American law as a tradition, as the common law of a presumption of innocence until one is proven guilty because of what you said. And too often today, we have mass communications that have not produced mass enlightenment, but mass ignorance. This thing where everything's supposed to be about your belief, about your wants, about your feelings, about your desires, rather than certain realities that we have because they are necessary for our system. We have gotten into this lynch mob mentality, which we have worked so hard to get away from, and we do it by media now. The media is not to protect us. The media is to enlighten us. The media is not to convict us. The media is to inform us. The media is not to have a trial in. The media is to exchange and interpose ideas and have them confront each other. Ideas. See, we've bastardized it because we've gotten weak.
Now, what I want to rebuttal to that, I do agree with that. But when it comes to somebody brought up Harvey Weinstein and the guy from Embassy and many others, either they don't have a trial or they have to have a trial. When it comes to us, there is no trial. And once that accusation is placed on us, that is a judgment no matter what. Look at the guy, I can't even remember his name, who played in Ant-Man and Creed 3 or whatever, if you know who I'm talking about. But when an accusation is placed on us, there has to be no trial before all judgment is made. But with everyone else, there has to be a trial. There has to be millions of dollars spent before we even think that. But also look at Alec Baldwin. When even these things are found out, they still go back to their regular life and their regular well-being and income making this years later. You don't think that there's a difference in that?
That's not the way it really works. You're talking about celebrities. When you talk about the overwhelming number of cases and situations, you're talking about regular, ordinary people. And it works the same for us. it's got to do with the exercise of the political process. I quoted something from one of our elders, Frederick Douglass. He said, freedom and liberty come in 3 boxes: the ballot box, the jury box, and the cartridge box. He was not a nonviolent person. In other words, you vote, you serve on juries, and you ensure as a juror that justice is done, since damn near every state, any one person can hang up a criminal jury. And if necessary, you're willing to fight about it. That's how you get liberty. So what you have in the majority of cases is a situation where people have power if they serve. And by that, I have to remove some of the personal disgust I have from all of the requests and demands that have been levied on me for the last half century about how to get out of serving jury duty. Look, man, you keep complaining about justice is just us. Why are you trying to get out of serving? Serve, but serve, sacrifice. That's how you ensure justice. I hear that all the time in Memphis. It's just us, but the chief of police is a black female. The sheriff is a black male. 60% of the criminal court judges are black and female. 75% of the jury pool is black. 70% of the serving officers in the sheriff's department and the Memphis Police Department are black, and 80% of the command officers are black. Where the hell is the white supremacy that everybody wants to talk about makes it just us?
Well, what I
See,
would say to
so
that, I'm sorry to interrupt, but because I got a short time, but a lot of people would say black faces in white places. I'm sure you know what that means. But what you're saying that it comes down to ultimately is power. Power meaning money. Like even if I'm black,
no, it's
forget about
not money. Money does
it.
not
Has to be.
interject itself. It doesn't. It does not interject itself into the
It
jury
has to be.
system. The best lawyer in my courtroom in the 16 years worth of term I got elected to, that had the best trial record in the state of Tennessee, 64 verdicts of good verdicts in serious criminal felony cases, was the public defender in my courtroom. He had 61 not guilty verdicts on murders, rapes, robberies, armed robberies, you name it. He had 1 mistrial that was on a first-degree murder case that resulted in a not guilty verdict, 2 guilty verdicts where the state offered 10 years and his clients were found guilty of the lesser and misdemeanor offense, 1129, time already served. The only perfect score in a 10-year period in the entire state, and it was the public defender. And people would walk in talking about they didn't want the public defender. They'd want some private lawyer, pay a guy a lot of money, and this clown that they walk in with hadn't even tried 2 cases, let alone 1 case. So it's
Now,
all a matter of perception. If you
Like, this is
perception.
your
believe,
last comment,
I was going to
Stevens.
get to
I
that.
have to go
okay,
on
This
another.
is
I have to go.
this is my last thing. This is my last thing. This is my last thing, and I'm going to go and hand it off to somebody else because you just said perception, and I'm glad you said that because that was one thing that I wanted to bring up to you. So perception is this: that if we have more black jurors on a black criminal court proceeding, is he more likely to be let off, or is he still likely to be hung or whatever jury convicted just as much as a white jury? And I'm just going to let you move on to the next.
it works pretty evenly. People, white and black, brown, red, yellow, get into the moment and they treat it more like it is a mystery on TV. So they have a challenge, solve it. Now, there are differences in perspective, but that's why we have 12 people on a jury. So if you've got an even jury, you bring a lot to the table. Now, the truth of the matter is that for the last 50 years, all across the United States, just a little more than 2% of the people in the penitentiaries got found guilty by a jury. 97+% pled guilty and 84 to 87% confessed. So you have a very small percentage of the people in the prisons that got found guilty by a jury. You have a pretty even chance, if you have a decent, experienced lawyer, of walking if you go to trial.
But what you're saying don't really add up, because you said 97.5%.
So that was your last statement. You keep
Yeah, I know.
keep questioning
Because I've been through this.
doesn't
Because
add up.
I actually been through this. I actually been through this type of this trial. Like, I literally went through this type of trial in my early
What trial
20s.
was that? What trial was that? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
When we're talking about a sexual assault trial, that's what I'm asking them. When you said
Well, this is not
97%.
wait, slow down, because Diddy, this is not a sexual assault trial. He's not
No,
been on trial.
I know that. It's sexual trafficking.
So then why
But
are you referring? No, it's not.
He's
It's
talking
nothing.
about personal. He's talking about
Yeah, you're talking about personal, but you're trying to equate it to the Diddy situation, and he hasn't been charged with anything. So you are
Well, we know he's going to be charged. We know he's going to be charged.
That, sir. No, we don't know
The
that. We do
Judge,
not know
do the
that.
FBI come in if they don't already have charges?
We do not know that. We do not know if he's going to be charged. So let's stop speculating. And I need to go to other speakers. And I don't mind the back and forth. Like sometimes you want to push back, but it's getting late. This is why we're not starting at 9 o'clock ever again. But yeah, let me go to the other speaker. I want to go to Carlo now.
We've been on an hour and 50 minutes. Let me just say this real quick. You have search warrants where if there's probable cause to convince a reasonable magistrate or judge that it's likely that there's contraband on the premises, you can get a search warrant. The search warrant, if contraband or something inappropriate is found, might lead to a warrant or might lead to an indictment. You have another situation, which is there probable cause to believe that a crime was committed, which will result in the issuance of an arrest warrant? If the arrest warrant is served, there is a search incident to the arrest that is permitted. Now, just because there are searches does not mean there are pending charges, nor will there be. I've had clients who've had their premises searched, and they did not necessarily get a resultant charge. They just got a torn up house.
All right. I want to get to the next speaker. I'm going to go to Carlo. And then I'm going to swing back to Negro, Cole, Derek, and then Sparks. Go ahead, Carlo.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say thank you, Dana and Judge Joe Brown, for providing this platform and continually providing us with great content every day. I want to speak to the trend that I've been seeing that wealthy, prominent, influential Black Americans have been under attack for the past few years. When you look at the Diddy and Bill Cosby, these are pillars of our community, the networks of our communities that gives back to HBCUs and several other things. And when I look at the way that they are allowing these illegal immigrants to come in and replace the Black Americans in the Black communities, I can't help but to think like this is all some big type of correlation and plan to usher in a new America. If you guys don't mind, just to speak to that, and if you think there's any type of correlation with that.
Speak to the fact that you think that this is a conspiracy against Black men or Black people?
I would just say Black Americans in general, because I feel like the Diddys and the Bill Cosbys, these are the pillars of our community as far as access to wealth and network and opportunities. And if they was to shut that down, all while replacing us with illegal immigrants, I feel like that is just destroying and weakening our community as a whole.
Well, let me just speak to that first real quick, because Bill Cosby and people like Sean Combs and people like that, especially in the entertainment, they don't live amongst other Black people, so they don't live in our community. Their tax dollars are going to their community, which is the wealthy communities, right? Which is majority white. So they are a part of, let's just say, a different group, which really has nothing to do with race. It has to do with your...
Sorry not to cut you off, but I mean to speak to as far as giving Black Americans opportunities like in voices. in spaces.
Oh, well, what? No, they didn't. They didn't give nobody a voice. They gave presentation of, okay, yes, I'm on. I achieved this. Now, as far as Bill Cosby, I wouldn't. He did out. He does more and has done more for Black Americans. When you're talking about all the millions, damn near $1 billion he donated to universities, and also when you look at his legacy on TV, the Bill Cosby Show, projecting a positive family unit, Black family unit, and then a different world, projecting education, particularly with historical Black colleges, which during that time increased enrollment for HBCUs over 15%. So yes, Bill Cosby had a very positive impact, specifically when it comes to Black America. Sean Diddy Combs, not so much. So I think we need to stop, Judge, please. I think we need
Stop
to
what?
the noise. I think we need
Excuse
to.
me. I'm trying to
Come
open
on,
up
come on. Can
a.
you just mute up? Just mute up. I think
Well,
we need to
okay.
just
I'll
distinguish ourselves between the two of
try.
entertainers and true pillars in the community. So these people don't live amongst us. They haven't lived amongst us in decades, but we need to start saying who are the wealthy or the upper class Black people who are professionals that are not in the entertainment industry. We need to focus on that. We need to focus on if it's specifically talking about Black Americans or the Black community, the doctors, the lawyers, the scientists, the engineers, the entrepreneurs. That should be our focus. So I don't think this type of situation here, when we're talking about Hollywood and entertainment, is a target for Black people or people in that field. They're just, particularly Sean Diddy Combs, he's just part of the um nastiness of Hollywood. So it's not about color. It's not about race. But go
Okay.
ahead, Judge.
I was typing a note to you, but anyway, it depends on what the celebrity does. You've got deceased celebrities like Bob Marley, who was adamant that his art, his music, convey a message. He was a Rastaman, and he was trying to convey the point and purpose, and he did it through entertainment. He was a messenger. You got Bill Cosby, who brought the word out. He wanted you to think he was trying to spread decency. The other gentleman, Mr. Combs, is an entertainer, and though he tries, he's not really somebody that's into spreading the word. So you have to make a distinction. Is the art primarily a medium for a message, or is it simply art for art's sake with no purpose, or is it art for the purpose of distracting? Now, it makes a big difference. So some people who are celebrities may have something to tell you, may have something to say that is profound, and you should listen to it because it will make your tomorrow a better place. Others, they could disappear right now and nothing would happen. But when it comes to Black celebrities, particularly those perceived to be somewhat masculine, those people are poster children to attack for the feminist thing, for the rainbow cult thing to throw darts at. They become symbolic scapegoats, symbolic targets to attack, something to focus the ire and rage of the offended party on. So you see a lot of Black men who are targets for takedowns because they represent a type of masculinity that some types of feminists find intolerable. They represent to them the height of toxic masculinity, as they call it, though the main shortcomings of masculinity are not because it's toxic, which it is not, but because of its absence. And there's a failure to acculturate and socialize most profound apex predator in the planet's history, so that it does not use its skills, talents, and aptitude to kill itself rather than killing food. Now, I'll pass the mic.
All right. Negro, Cole, Derek, and then Sparks. Go ahead, the Negro.
Yeah, I gotta push back lightly. I really think it is racial. I think it's ethnic based. When you look at incidents with Method Man, when you look at incidents with Cameron and Mace, all those were black men, wealthy black men, right? That are being systematically targeted, that are in that industry. That's the reason why I was talking about this colorblind nonsense and all those other things that lead to that rhetoric, which leads to these outcomes that are undesirable to specifically to black men from taking leadership in those industries. So that's what I'm seeing here, and I don't really, I really think that this is the reason why there's people that are creating policies called the Negro Black Accusation Act, because any woman can just go off and say they can blame a Negro because they feel something, or because they had a dream about a black man and all this other rhetoric. So like, yeah, I definitely want to see all the evidence first. I want a fair, clean trial before we start demonizing this black man or whatnot, or whatever he might be doing. So that's kind of my take. And I don't see the smoke from any of these white guys that's beating the crap out of women, that's out here sexually assaulting people, officers, and all types of stuff, you know, of cases, extreme cases. And we all know statistically, white men are the leaders. They're the leaders in that type of criminality. So the nerve that they put this black man without having all the evidence and everything on the air the way they did, I think is irresponsible and bad and shoddy journalism at the best.
Let me ask you a question real quick, the Negro, because you said Cameron and Mace, they're not accused of anything.
No, you had that woman, that model woman, I think something Ford, who made some comments. No, I'm saying that any of these women are allowed to make comments like that. That's what I'm going at.
Freedom of speech. You can make a comment. She didn't make an accusation, and Cameron came right back and said, slow that down. So again, I'm not going to put Cameron, Mace, or anybody else in the same category as Diddy. Diddy's a piece of shit. Everybody knew that in the industry. Everybody knew how he was treating Kim Porter and all his other girlfriends. They knew he was a whore. They knew what he was into. Everybody knew that since the 90s. See, a lot of y'all young people, y'all new to this. You talk about the 90s, that's when I was outside. So he's always been nasty. Trust me. So the fact is that Wendy Williams was the first one to talk about him before it was any such thing as going viral when she was on the radio, right? So again, this is old news with his behavior. It's just that now, you know, what do they call it? You know, it's time to pay the piper. So he's nasty. He's a piece of shit. It has nothing to do with putting a black man down. It's just that you was into some freaky shit. Now it's catching up to you. And also, I'm going to say this. Did he probably have something to do with the death of Biggie? Absolutely. Because that was already out in the streets in 1995, 96. Well, when did Biggie die? 98, I think. Yeah. Or 97. But right after his death, like everyone was pointing a finger at Diddy. You weren't there. So this man always been a piece of shit. So let's not get that twisted. It's just that he's not the only piece of shit in Hollywood. Yes, they're nasty, filthy white men. They're nasty, filthy Hispanics. They're nasty, filthy whoever. So it's this situation here, and I get what both you and Carlo were saying. I understand what you're saying. My position is don't try to correlate that with this Diddy situation.
Okay, let me say something. When you know, what do you call a sleeveless tank top?
A wife beater.
Wife beater.
Now, who do you associate with wearing a wife beater?
I would say Italians and maybe Latinos.
I'd say a typical country boy from down south, and he's got a can of beer in his hand, or a bottle of beer, not a can of beer, and he's sitting in a rocking chair, He may even be chewing tobacco, and he's got on some work boots and coveralls. Now, that's, see, it's not always somebody black that's associated with beating a wife. It's just to the feminist crowd and to their running dogs who operate social media, because they're kind of feminine too, even if they still got dicks and balls. Look at Don Lemon and such like, and Anderson Cooper and such like, formerly of CN or still of CNN, formerly of X Space here. And it just so happens that because of the enthusiasm of a certain crop of black women, black females, I'd say, not necessarily women, and their enthusiasm to tear their men down to manageable pieces, they have a ready set of participants and a ready target that is perceived as super macho masculine to attack. And the objective is not just racial, but it has a significant racial impact, because the initial scapegoats, the initial target, the poster child, is likely to be a black male because of his perception as a super masculine object, if that makes sense. You have Oprah Winfrey's, you have Mammy Fanny's, and you have, what's her name, Beetlejuice, Madam Beetlejuice, formerly of Chicago's mayor's office, and you have the prosecutor. What's the woman up in New York? Letitia James. You have that bunch, and they're all too willing to take down any man, particularly black men, if they can. So we have this kind of situation where we are conveniently out there, but the real deal are, just like for any race, the working guy who's out there doing 9 to 5, and he does it 5 days a week or 6 if he can get overtime, and he's trying to support his family and the woman he chooses to be responsible for. And now we have, in opposition to him, foolish females who want to tear him down and claim they don't need him, and then suffer and go through a lot of trouble for the lack. So we've got the socialization and acculturation of our public that's warped. It does not deal with the future generations, the raising of families, the social stability, order, peace, and dignity that go with a healthy society. It becomes the norm now, where certain people are expected to be criminals, and that's all right because that's supposed to be typical. It's not. Nobody acts as a criminal except deviants.
Now,
So
Judge,
we have to learn that. Now,
I'm
there are
trying to
false
figure out why you coming off
accusations,
your mic.
but we have to understand that there are problems that we face as a society, and we become the poster children for the deviants, and we become the poster children for the object of the deviants to go after. And we make it easy on ourselves because we have lost our heroes. We have been talking about it. We've got celebrities as heroes, but they haven't charged machine gun emplacements. They haven't put their life on the line and gone beyond the call of duty. They have not risked personal injury or death to save anyone or to be about accomplishing a task. And being heroic to do what you're supposed to do is not being heroic. That's just doing your duty. But going above and beyond is something else entirely than somebody sinking a 3-pointer with 4 seconds left in the game and your home team wins by 1 point. That's not being heroic. That's getting paid a lot of money for a sport that boys like to distract themselves with. So we need to have a reassessment of what we ideate and what we value as role models, and start getting back to those people who are actually doing something, and they are around and about us. They are us. We don't have any heroes. They're not Al Sharptons. They are certainly not that. They're not Don Lemons. They're not Cory Bookers. They're not Barack Obamas. They're not the ones that are sellouts and the kennel dogs who are loyal, trained animals who are quite obedient. You can let off the leash because they know how to heel. We have to start dealing with developing people who are willing to go and make a stand. And one of the things I'd really like is for us not to pay a whole lot of attention to what we've been paying attention to tonight, in part because it's a distraction. If we took them out of the picture tomorrow, our lives would be no different. The same thing, I hate to say it, Tupac and Biggie Smalls are footnotes.
Yeah,
Tupac's
exactly.
been co-opted by a Caucasian Hindu who masquerades as black, married to a Jewish husband,
Who you
who
talking?
has
Oh,
adopted his Jewish children, and we somehow or another get fixated on that. You wanted to talk about foreign people. We talk about somebody who was born of a long line of Johnny Rebs, related to two of them who've been in the White House and whose daddy was from outside the country with no real contact, raised in Indonesia, and somehow we look at him as a hero for black folk when he didn't do much of a damn thing except make things worse for us. So what are we doing here? We now have gotten rid of W.E.B. Du Bois, who wanted to tell us about stuff and how to do it and the pitfalls and the challenges. And we idolize late 19th century, early 20th century Al Sharpton, whose name is Booker T. Washington. So what are we doing to ourselves?
Yeah. I want to go to Cole, Derek, Sparks. Go ahead, Cole.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to kind of piggyback on the statement real fast and then pose a question to the judge. Look, argument and debate is needed for a healthy society. And I mean, I've listened to the argument that we were having earlier. But having that kind of argument doesn't help anything. What we really need to do, we all need to be on a united front, because we got big evil forces over us right now trying to, wreck us all. And the sooner we get on Team Humanity, the better. Now to my question. So let's say, for hypothetical reasons, Diddy gets charged and he flees the country. My question to the judge is, what is the extradition process? If you could explain that.
Well, it depends upon the country the treaty or the agreement is with. Now, the Article 6 to the U.S. Constitution says the supreme law of the land shall consist of three things: the Constitution, laws that are passed to carry out the Constitution, and such treaties as have been ratified by the U.S. Senate. There is a treaty that was negotiated by President Bill Clinton in 1999 that was ratified by the U.S. Senate, that is part of the supreme law of the land. The signatory to the treaty, the foreign signatory, was Ukraine. It says the Ukraine and the United States hereby in treaty with each other agree to apprehend, detain, and extradite all parties who are wanted by the due process of law's operations of the other. Our current president, Joe Biden, is the subject of almost 100-page long, multi-count organized crime indictment in Ukraine, which under the Article 6 clause demands that we take him into custody and extradite him to Ukraine. That's not likely to happen. because of some diplomatic concerns, because of some international concerns, and because of some practicalities, but that's the law. So when you have an extradition treaty, the answer to your question is it depends. You see what I'm getting at when I did that?
Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
Now, the other point is the long-term effects. Are we in Ukraine for a righteous cause, or are we in Ukraine so the current president can get gratitude shown by having the multi-count organized crime indictment naming himself that Article 6 to the Constitution requires his extradition to Ukraine for, and get them dropped? Or are we there for a righteous cause? Now, internationally, Russia is presumed to be there for approximately four things. One is Ukrainians have asked them to be involved because Russia was once part of the old Russian Empire and then the Soviet Union. Two, because Stalin never dealt with the Nazis after the end of World War II, and there's a resurgence of Nazism in Ukraine, and Russia is perceived as putting the Nazis in check. The third thing is because the rest of the world perceives the United States as attempting to impose a quasi-religion, a cult that I call the rainbow cult, on the rest of the world by force and coercion, and they don't want it. And then the fourth thing, since it's the subject at hand, is because of a sex slavery thing, a huge sex trafficking industry that exists in Ukraine because the Africans that Stalin brought in the late 1940s and early 1950s settled in the most southern part of the Soviet Union, the Ukraine, and their descendants have been getting kidnapped, held, and forced into sex slavery and sold internationally. So those are the four reasons that Russia is perceived to be in Ukraine. We hear nothing about those in the United States. So, yeah, there's a lot going on here when it comes to extradition. It depends on who the party is that is involved, and also who the party is, or who the parties are that are involved. So I don't know. And I don't think the gentleman in question is going to run. He's got chance of prevailing, and we don't even know what it is. I don't hear that an arrest warrant has been issued. It's premature to know whether or not there is a federal grand jury someplace that may return a series of indictments. And he's presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And although Mammy Fannie Willis in Georgia forgot all about it, even though she's the primary prosecutor for Atlanta, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and may be, will be used in evidence against you, etc., etc., etc. They cannot compel you to give evidence against yourself.
All right. I want to go to Derek and then Sparks.
Okay, yeah. First of all, I totally agree with what you were saying, Dana. We're looking at people like Diddy and R. Kelly and people like that, right? We know there's a lot of bad people in industries, in all industries, not just entertainment, but all industries. And like the judge said, we're looking toward these entertainers. They're basically demigods. We made them demigods, and we set standards by them. Some of these people are they have very skewed mentalities, and they have gotten to a point where they think that they are above the law. They get into these sick fetishes. I think that Puff Daddy and R. Kelly were two of those type of people. I think that they're not, being accused innocently. I think they have done some things. How much of it, we don't know, but I do believe that it's a lot of legitimacy behind some of these claims. That's just my personal belief. But usually when there's smoke, there's fire, right? And you have these many people. And I remember when I was in school, a teacher used to say, you know, I would kind of go to a point to believe that if some of these students, if you got blamed by one student or you got blamed by two students, right, they could be making it up. She said, but one thing about it is everybody's not lying. So if you got these many people saying the same thing, everybody is not lying. But I agree totally. Diddy he's been doing some really dirty bad things, or Kelly did some dirty bad things. I think eventually they may get him. From my knowledge, they did arrest his sons, right, when they raided the house, or one of the house. They
They
raided
weren't
3 houses.
arrested. They were just detained and then let go because you got to put people in handcuffs when you're reading and if somebody's there. So they weren't
Right,
arrested.
right, okay. Well, yeah. So, and like Judge said, they probably just went there. There's speculation to find evidence to see if they saw anything that was suspicious or related to any type of sexual trafficking or whatever. But I do believe that Diddy, and I know I met Diddy through a friend of mine in New York. I even been to one of his parties. I didn't see anything like, extra ridiculous. But like I said, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I believe that as Black people, we are starting to look up to the wrong type of people. We need to start, and that's everybody. And I hate to hear all this race stuff, because we got to get out of that. But I'm just saying specifically on the Black community, we have to stop taking up for these people, because soon as we hear them say, somebody speculates something about them, and it could be true, it could be a lie, but we defend them, and we really doing more harm to them. We need to help hold them accountable. Just because they Black, they don't get a pass, and it's like that in every race. I mean, everybody has bad and good people, but I just kind of wanted to speak on that, because I'm here, like, so many people get try to, oh well, he Black, it's he picking on Black. No, these people are doing bad things, and they may go down for it or they may not. But when you see this type of stuff going on, you got to know it's something to it.
So when do these grown adult consenting women get held accountable for their
Well,
participation?
yeah, please stay on your mic. Not only is it a pet peeve of mine, it's just more so for decorum.
I'm sorry,
But
I just had to ask that
no,
question.
that's fine, but that's a whole another separate space, because we're not doing the gender war here tonight. That's a whole nother separate space. That's what I'm saying. Because I need to go on to Sparks because he's been waiting. Go ahead, Sparks.
Hey, what's up, Dana? How you doing, Judge Joe Brown?
All
Hello.
right.
Great. I just have a quick question. First of all, I want to say, just because a person has a messy attitude does not mean that they should be prosecuted for any reason, for any bogus reason. Then I want to say that what is exactly the crime that he's being charged with? Because no one said what the feds were running into the house to go find evidence on. So that means that they can find anything on his computers and they can use that as an excuse to target him. So that was my question. I just wanted to know, what is the charges they're accusing him of?
Well, the grounds for the raid, they're trying to say, it's because I just pulled it up. It was basically the federal agents, Department of Homeland Security, helicopters, something with sex trafficking, alleged sex trafficking, connection to alleged sex trafficking. That's why.
Okay, see, but that's what we're
But has
assuming.
he been
So
charged with anything? No. But
okay,
that's what the raid was for. So yeah.
so that isn't that a form of targeting? That's like fishing. You're just going out to his home searching for anything. You're not even sure. You didn't even give the public. You let the media go there, but you didn't tell people exactly what the man is being charged with.
No, they haven't let anybody know. Like I said, they may have probable cause to search, in that there might be a reasonable belief that leads to reasonable suspicion that leads to probable cause that there is contraband on the premises or something that is evidence of a criminal act. They can get a search warrant. That might result in an arrest warrant, or it might result in an indictment. We don't know. Apparently, there was no arrest warrant already existing that they wished to serve because he seems to be at large, and from the places the media is putting him, there are ample agents of Homeland Security that could effectuate a physical arrest.
Well, he
But
was in Miami, so if they was going to arrest him, he was there for him to be arrested, and that's the thing. So I'm gonna go to Real Queen, then a Negro, but I want to ask you a question real quick, Judge. Just a quick question for a quick answer. So they raided his home for alleged sex trafficking, so they were looking for evidence. So if they turn up with no evidence, right? Can he then turn around and sue?
no, he can't.
Okay. All right. So
If
let me
there's
go to
probable cause that's been established, that makes it a matter of sovereign immunity.
okay.
There's a
Queen.
warrant that's process of the state. The state cannot be sued unless it allows itself to be sued, or the state in this case is also the major international state, the United States of America.
Right. Because he's not in handcuffs. He has not been charged. They raided 2 homes. So they must have came up empty-handed, or maybe they're just waiting. Who knows? So it's
Maybe they want to digest what they got, and
right.
maybe that will result in
It's a lot of
presentation
maybes.
for a grand jury. Now, what will usually happen when the person is readily recognizable and has large ties to a community, meaning these multi-million-dollar mansions and an income tied to the United States that is very, very high, that person is quite likely to show up and submit to due process of law. So the bond need not be excessive, just what is reasonably likely to ensure that he will appear for the balance of the proceedings and will not flee. So, what usually happens is when you have a client like that or somebody with ties to the community, if it is known that he has a representative, the representative is contacted and arrangements are made to surrender the individual at a certain time. That allows the individual to make arrangements with a bonding company to deal with making arrangements for the maintenance of his affairs in the event he's unable to make the bond, and to expedite the handling the problem without having to go out and arm people and go through the 9 yards of having law enforcement tied up to serve a warrant and handcuff somebody.
Okay. I want to go to Real Queen, then the Negro, and then we're going to close out. Go ahead, the Real Queen.
Okay, can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to give a word of caution to Black people, primarily Black men. Stop being overly hypersensitive, okay? When problematic Black men such as Diddy are accused of something, let it play out. If they're guilty, they're guilty. Just like R. Kelly, just like Dr. York, just like Brother Polite, okay? Disown the cancers amongst the community if need be. Also, keep that same energy we had with Donald Trump being caught up in 90 plus indictments and charges. Okay. Diddy, in my mind, is guilty. He wrote that song, Act Bad, and he said, turn your act bad up. Well, he's suffering the consequences of that right now. Thank you, Dana and Judge, for an awesome panel as usual.
Thank you. Go ahead, the
Check your
Negro.
direct mail.
Go ahead, the Negro.
I'm gonna say something a little counter narrative to that. I think that every man has a right to be presumed innocent until guilty. You know, that's what the legal system's about. Specifically, Negro Black men has been disfranchised underneath the colorblind policies that were implemented by society, and also not getting our tangibles, not getting our resources, them blacking and browning our issues and our concerns when it's strictly Negro and Black American. I want to say shout out to you, Dana, for holding the space. Salute to you, Judge, as always. I think that you guys should read that Nicole Hannah Jones article in regards to these policies that have been implemented against our community to destabilize our community, to shame our leaders, and to put Astra on the name of any of our producers in our community. So yeah, I'm very concerned because any black man across the street can deal with this. And that's something that no other man knows what we're talking about. It doesn't matter if it's Trump or not, because Trump has millions and millions of dollars at his disposal in the US government. The Negro just only have himself, his bloodline, and his people. There's a difference. We got to know them.
All right, thank you, the Negro. Let me just say a couple of breaking news headlines that dropped a couple hours ago. It says the Coast Guard's called off search and rescue effort after bridge collapse in Baltimore. 6 missing construction workers are presumed dead. That's awful. And I hope their family do sue the state and the shipping company, cargo companies. Also, NBC News cut ties with Ronna McDaniel, a former GOP national chairwoman, after her hiring was met with interior fury. That's fucked up. I hope she sues the hell out of NBC because that's very unprofessional. And I would say illegal to a certain degree, especially if contracts were signed. And it says Barack Obama, fearing a Biden loss to Donald Trump, is making regular calls to the White House to strategize and give advice. Also, the judge in Donald Trump's Manhattan criminal trial imposed a gag order that prohibits him from attacking witnesses and prosecutors in the case. But if you're going to give him a gag order, you need to give the prosecutors and the attorney general a goddamn gag order as well. So, great speakers. Thank you, everybody. And everybody on YouTube, I had to hide at least 5 people because y'all come in here playing with me and I'm not the one to be played with, honey. But everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in on YouTube. Everybody here on X, appreciate you guys. And everybody requested to come up. Great panel, great topics. And starting next Tuesday, we're going to have to start at 6 p.m. Eastern. I can't do a late night. Can't do it. But go ahead, Judge, close us out.
Well, anyway, it's an interesting topic, and the relevance to our current situations is that when you get a celebrity who is running into difficulties with the government, you have mass attention paid to the Bill of Rights and due process of law that is lacking otherwise. It's good educational opportunity. So let us take what has been incentivized and run with it and learn what's out there to learn. It used to be something that everybody in the country was taught in elementary school, literally as part of the necessary education for living in this country, whether you had first class or second class status, however you might perceive it. Do not presume that all cards are stacked against you because you saw Johnny Cochran, a damn fine black lawyer, beat a murder rap for a black defendant against a white female. And that's been almost 30 years ago. You have Willie Gary. He's a black lawyer. He's same age I am. He's in Boca Raton, Florida. He holds the record for the largest jury verdict sustained on appeal in the entirety of American law. And he has 4 of the largest jury verdicts in American history and 5 or 6 of the top 10 largest settlements in American history. And he's a black man. Yours truly, 40 years ago, got an all-white Arkansas Supreme Court to reverse the conviction of a child who was allegedly 13 years old at the time he allegedly killed 3 white people, got them to unanimously reverse his conviction. And one of the grounds was that he was tried before an all-white jury that I protested vigorously. So you see, things can happen. You've got a black judge against me, who determined that it was the FBI, not James Earl Ray, that shot Dr. Martin Luther King, because he was the last, meaning me, last judge on the James Earl Ray case. And if I'd let bias get in the way and assume I've got a racist that can take the case and not been objective, the fact of the matter, the reality would never have been discovered. So there is something about keeping an open mind, and there is nothing wrong with being a zealous defender of your people. Now, a lot of what we have passed for defense of people is actually selling them out, and a lot of which that which is accused or said to be a sellout is simply the result of reconnaissance of having been through it and giving someone some practical advisement of the ins and outs, the pitfalls, and the minefields. It is not a discouragement to action. So we need to start taking action. We need to start participating. We need to start grasping the reins of power and understanding what that means. That does not equate to belonging to a political party like you're some kind of domesticated animal that has been trained well enough to heal without being on a leash. It means being a free person and accepting all of the ins and outs, the pitfalls, the trials and tribulations that go along with that. It means dealing with the collateral damage of being free and doing what you have to do to remain free. As Frederick Douglass published, it's the three boxes: the ballot box, the jury box, and the cartridge box. The cartridge box is a container for ready ammunition to shoot out of your war weapon. So with that said, everybody have a nice week. See you next week.